Hey friends, Gary here with Scott 3D. We're going to get started here in just a second. I told you yesterday I was going to do the process of doing a Tumbler, and so we're going to get to that today. But first, I got to plug my shops. So we got ska3d.myshopify.com, and we have ska3dshop.etsy.com. So we're gonna do a Tumbler today, and I just wanted to show I used the X Tool D1 Pro 10 watt. That seems to suit my needs just fine at the moment. I know I'm gonna upgrade to probably a 20 watt laser down the road just to do, I guess, faster, and I can do thicker material on certain things, but this is great. It does a great job on tumblers for my needs anyway. So here's the process. Tools you need, or tools I think you need for this job, is going to be, one's going to be the rotary jig. This is a necessity for doing tumblers, especially if you're going to do any kind of wide logos to make it like laser properly. Then I can't pull this up, it's screwed down, but I use this. This is a 3D printed, it's like a stepping ladder almost. And what it does is, when you put a tumbler in, tumblers are usually tapered down to the back bottom. So it lets you raise, if you see this, every stair is a little bit higher. It lets you raise this up to make sure the tumbler stays really level. And that's really important to make sure you get the same intensity from the laser the whole way through, where it's not dropping down if it's at a level. So I use this. This is a must-have. This is a must-have. Little level to sit on your tumbler as it's setting up. Pretty important. Obviously, you get your chuck key, which is needed. I have these on my Etsy shop. This is a T-square. This, to me, doing any kind of tumblers or any kind of work on your laser is a must-have. I know it's a little plug for my own thing, but that's just what it is. I use it every day. I use my steel millimeter ruler, and then of course this is a must. Cloth flexible ruler to get the circumference of a tumbler. So when you're setting up, I use Lightburn. Lightburn software seems to work the best for me. It does the best job. I can just kind of make it do what it needs to do and customize my settings the way I need to have them. So I use Lightburn. So we're gonna set up, I have a file over here it's a fighter. I have a cancer fighter file I want to print onto or I want to engrave onto the tumblers. I'm going to go through the settings first. Well, first, let's get a tumbler. So I just use generic. I get them on Amazon. If I think about it, I'll try and put a link on somewhere for these tumblers. But so what I do with these, like, this is a real important part. I usually take the middle of a tumbler. So you have to get the circumference. The circumference is what I use. That's the best way for me to get my settings correctly. So if I'm printing down the bottom, I'll take the measurement down here. Usually if I'm going vertical, I just go in the center, and it seems to work fine as long as I keep it level. So I take my tape measure around the middle. So I have 270 millimeters. See it there? Like, this is like an important setting. So when you print stuff or engrave stuff onto this, it's so the lettering or the logos or whatever don't get out of proportion. Because a lot of times they'll oblong. If your settings are wrong, you'll never be able to do a circle correctly. They just won't look like a circle. So this is an important setting. So 270 millimeters. So then I open up my software. I go into laser tools on the top bar of the settings. So I go into laser tools. I pick up rotary setting, click on rotary setting, and then I like to use the chuck on my roller. So there's a setting in there, you can do chuck or roller. I prefer the chuck. That's just me. Someone else may say something different. And then you click on it's like the third tab down, you click on enable rotary. And then on the very bottom, there's a circumference. And again, this is a really important setting. I put in 270 millimeters. Click OK. Okay, then you got, so now I'm out of that. So now you go, Then you're gonna set up, so then you're gonna see on the far side of your screen, like where all your controls are for your laser, just make sure the enable rotary is set, because if that's not set, it's gonna print like really wide and not, it's gonna ruin your Tumbler. So then I set up my roller here, plug it into my machine, so it plugs in to where, and so you unplug where it plugs in to this front left corner. I unplug that. Then I plug my roller right here. So it's my roller cord. I plug it into there. So now it knows that it's going to be just going left to right, not front to back. So I kind of set in. So if you see I have these grid lines in here too, you can see the grid lines right in here. The grid lines were cut with my laser, and I know, so now that I know is square to the machine. So now when I set my roller up, I put it in roughly halfway up on my stepping ladder here, and the stepping ladder is to keep everything level, and you'll see, so it bounces up and down. This is an important tool. So then I'll just set it in the middle for now. I can make sure I'm parallel to my pre-cut lines in my sacrificial board here. So then you know when you engrave something, it's going to engrave square to the mug instead of kind of like askewed somewhere. So now that's all set up for now. I prefer to use my chuck here on the inside of my mug, just so I eliminate, if it's on the outside, it may hit something with like the laser if I'm printing really high. So get that set up. I make sure visually as it's going around and adjust it. Make sure it's kind of spinning evenly. There you go. Take your chuck key, give it 1/4 turn back. Now that's all set to go. Then what I do, take a piece of blue tape, set it roughly the middle, because I want this logo centered. Take my metal rule. I know white to white, I have 140 millimeters. So we're gonna mark 70. Then I take my square, a little marking square. Again, I use this all the time. It bends to the mug so I can bend it. So this stays square to the bottom. I mark my center on my square. Take my blue tape off. Don't need it. So now, because I've marked this, I know every time I go to any tumbler this size, I know that that's my center mark. And you'll see in a second how important that is. Because when I'm bringing my laser across, I put my square to the bottom, and I can see it. It doesn't even have to be near my ruler, my marking square, and I can see the mark. So now I know I'm centered front and back again, all the time. So then I give a visual, make sure I'm at the high. I just kind of make sure I'm centered on the highest part of the tumbler. That's not super important. And if I need to stay square to something, if I have a, like say a Yeti logo on the bottom, I take my square and square it from the center, and now I know I can mark it on the edge of this, and I know I'm centered. All right, so now set my height of my laser. Okay, so now I'm gonna check again, sorry. Make sure I'm centered. So now the important part is going to be the settings for your for your laser intensity. When you look online, there's so many people. When I first started, the settings are all over the board. I mean, so different. I feel I was misguided. So I really want to make sure that I give you the correct information. And again, this works for my laser in my shop and for the tumblers that I use. So some tumblers, even though that's the same color, just because of the brand, there may need to be a tweak in the setting. But a tweak is just a little bit. I was getting settings that were like 1,000 millimeters per minute off, or the power setting was like 30% different. It just doesn't work. I'm telling you. I've done so many tumblers. The setting I'm giving you now works on almost every tumbler. Sometimes I have to tweak the setting a little bit, but again, that's why I have sacrificial tumblers that I always kind of test something on to make sure the logo's going to print right or whatever. So the settings I have I pretty much do a fill on everything, especially on tumblers. Is it gives you like a nice look. I like it. I like a lot of shine and silver coming through. So then on my speed of my setting, I do 4,200 millimeters per minute. That seems to work again on every tumbler. If I need to tweak something, I usually tweak the power setting. Lately, the power setting at 90 has been working on almost every tumbler. Again, so then the mode is fill. And then when you come down, there's a bi-directional fill and a crosshatch. I keep mine on bi-directional fill. Then on overscanning, I'm on 2.5%. That just seems to work again for me. And this one seems to be, for me, seems to be really important. If I'm doing just like small text, I guess, I can go to the line interval at 0.1. Works 0.100, works pretty well. If I do anything kind of bigger, that's going to show more, I guess, silver, like engraving off, I try and do 0.0850. That to me is my sweet spot on almost everything. I kind of leave it there unless I need to tweak. And then, so line per inch, that usually gets adjusted by the circumference. But mine's at, lines per inch, I'm at 298.82. And then scan angle is 0, number of passes is 1. These seem to be the best settings, and again, I use this all the time. I do tumblers all the time, and I'll show you. So I'm not going to waste your time and have this go right now, but I'll show you the finished product. That's a finished tumbler I did yesterday on these same settings, the same exact setup. You can see how nice and clean they are. So again, it's speed at 4,200, power at 90. If you have any questions, please message me and I'll answer any questions I can for you on brands or brands of tumblers or certain settings or whatever. I can help you any way I can. Like, I wish I had this help when I first started, just a lot of trial and error. I hope this video helps you. Tomorrow, I think I'm gonna try and do, between tomorrow and Monday, I wanna do a cabinet assembly. So I was a cabinet maker my whole life. I want to do a cabinet assembly with a bunch of tools or jigs that I've made up to make your life easier. So I hope you sit and watch, or it'd be great if you can subscribe to my YouTube, or just like as much as you can on TikTok would be fantastic. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.